Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. We are just getting ready to go qualifying here for the first time, broadcasting the NORL F1, not even F1, the FIA GT3 Championship on Project Cars 2 FIA GT3 Series. Just getting the stream set up. Come support. Alright, we are pretty much good to go then, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome along. We are currently watching Nemesis Racing. This is a 10-minute qualifying session, and I'm sure we're going to have lots of great racing going on. So we've got a few things to learn in qualifying, and that is the general pace of anyone who's going to be hot lapping throughout this qualifying session. We've also got to learn the spectator cam views and stuff, so we can see these are standings. They don't really do anything. Overview, currently watching, that's fair enough. We get the speeder, can also get the map, and we can get the timing, so that will be interesting to look at throughout the qualifying session. We're going to be watching the trackside cameras as always, and we can switch between the cockpit, chase, roof, bonnet, on all the other fun cameras. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we can hide this bottom locked view. That is very unfortunate. If that is the case, we've got to stick with that. But it's what it is, and we will work our way through it. So the next step would be learning how to swap drivers, and that is quite easy. We've got a lot of different cars, but it looks like Beamer Black is coming out to start his lap. Where is Nemesis Racing? He is not. So it looks like Beamer Black will be, if I'm right, our first lap of the session then. So let's take a look and see what the man in the Bentley can do. This man raced in the NORL F1 2018 series just last week on Sunday. And unfortunately his race came to an early end when he went a little bit too wide at the Melbourne Albert Park. Quick chicane, hit the grass on the outside, spearheaded across the track, and lost his wheel. But now we can watch and see how the man in the Bentley performs here at the very tricky circuit of Bathurst, nonetheless. Because it's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? He's got to do quite a good lap time. Chaz is here as well. Chaz of 35687. He got a... Oh, that's a big shunt into the wall for Beamer Black. That's going to scrape some time off his lap, but I'm pretty sure damage will come into play as well, as we have a little bit of lag interference after that incident, but everything else seems to be going fine. How will the man do? We've got JFD, who's just joined the lobby. That might be where the lag came from. That is the man in the McLaren, Beamer Black. So we have our first lap of Mark 1671. Sets a lap time of 2:11. A lot faster than the Porsche driver, 15 seconds faster, but that's not a relevant time. Galactic Skull 2 in the Bentley will come across the line half a second off the pace of Mark. Murcielago will now go quicker than anybody by 3.2 seconds. A mega impressive lap from Murcielago, a man in the F1 series who did quite well for himself as well. And we've had a crash in the form of Kedshi. Kedshi has gone off at the run to the start of the mountain, trying to find him some clear space, but ends up just going back to the pit lane. Anyway, in that time, we can see that Beamer Black will be coming towards the end of his lap. Nemesis Racing out on his lap as well. We will have to see just how quick Beamer Black is going when he comes up to the line. We were able to get the timing up on your screen for you, so you can kind of get an idea of where everyone is. And it looks like Beamer Black's lap may have been invalidated. I'm not quite sure. We'll see when he crosses the line for definite if that is the case or not. I really wish we could take this bottom screen off. But up to the line he comes. And across the line he goes P4 with that lap then. So not bad for Beamer Black. He will go in P4. Man with previous Project Cars experience, Chazza, struggling a little bit. 4.5 seconds off the pace of Murcielago. That is a really impressive lap time if that is the true race pace of everybody else. And we've got JFD in the wall, coming down the mountain at the chicane at the top of the hill. It's a very tricky corner to get right, and he has not got it right on this occasion. It's unfortunate for him. Nemesis Racing will come and put a lap time in good enough for 6th place. It's not really good for the reigning champion. Man who won in IndyCar, of course, this time last season. Reigning champion of the NORL Project Cars 2 League. The reigning GT3 champion, of course, is Krill Pills, an NORL legend who, under new regulations, was not permitted to enter for this season. So it's anybody's crown. The last Project Cars 2 champion for NORL was, of course, Nemesis Racing in IndyCar. So Murcielago right now dominating the times. And it looks like Mark's been able to shave a couple of seconds off. But Murcielago improves with a 2:07 dead. It could be a complete washout this weekend by Murcielago. He just looks to be the fastest man on the circuit by quite a lot. Doesn't look like anyone else is really able to match the pace. As anyone comes to the end of the lap, you can see Chazza looking like he's struggling just a little bit. See him as he comes up to the line. Braking very early. Is he just setting himself up for a qualifying lap? I'd hope so. So away he goes up through turn 1. This won't be a very relevant lap time. He will start his lap time now. Come into turn 1, you want to brake early, get in for that inside apex, then used a little bit of AstroTurf over the end of the curve. He did not maximize all the track he could. There's another 2/10, let's say, at least, to be gained from the course of there. Next, you make your way down a long straight and get ready for the chaos that is the climb up the mountain. You're able to brake a little bit later than you can imagine here because of the uphill battle. It helps to brake in a little bit, so you can brake late here, get inside, get on the throttle again on the inside curb, and just running all the way up to the next section of the mountain. Now, this is where it separates the men from the boys. How much do you dare go to that red wall on the inside? You've got to get very close, carry all your speed down into second gear. Looks like he loses the rear a little bit under rear locking, but now he can come through here, and if you're brave enough, once again, this next right-hand corner is completely flat. Does he take it flat? No, he does not. No confidence in the Audi R8 then for the man with the F1 experience. So, through the mountain they come. This section is pretty much all flat, but again, not enough confidence in the R8 from Chazza. There's a lot of time to be found here just because he's letting off so much. Not a lot of confidence, and I'm not sure if that's to do with the R8 or just his lack of Project Cars experience. But he's struggling, and now comes the fast descent down the mountain. It comes at you quick and fast, but boy, when you hook it all up, is it satisfying. Down here, the hill come, you want to brake here and get as close to that inside wall as you dare, and that will give you a good exit. And again, a lot of time left on the table by the Audi, and now you make the run all the way down the Conrod straight, and it's very much a flat-out kink that you come up to, and we'll listen as he comes up to the kink and see if that is flat out as well for a man from Britain. It was completely flat. Now you want to get brakes early, get to that inside curb. He's actually nailed that, and now go to the inside curb there too, and there should be a little outside one to greet you. That is pretty well done. He's had a good sector through there visually as he comes into the last corner. Now he wants to brake, get hard on the brakes, aim for that inside curb, and then filter to the outside, but no! He's absolutely bottled it, and that lap is over for Chazza, and he will not be improving anytime soon. Just got too eager on the throttle, and that would have been his last qualifying attempt. Chazza will start no higher than P6. Kedshi yet to set a relevant lap time. Looks like he's coming up to the final corner in that Porsche. How much do we dare push it all the way up to the line then? Will we see a good lap from Kedshi? No, and it was another invalidated lap for the man in the Porsche, an absolute nightmare. Meanwhile, JFD doesn't look like he has set a valid lap time yet. So the two guys at the bottom have not set valid lap times. I'm not entirely certain if Kedshi's out on another lap. It looks like he's on a cooldown lap, so it looks like he's out of qualifying. Is anyone else still going around? Galactic Skull 2 is just under a second off the pace of Murcielago as he comes to the flat-out kink on the Conrod. Will throw it to the inside, and he knows this track. He knows the Bentley, and he knows this track. This is a good combo for Galactic Skull 2. If anyone could dethrone the M6 at this point, it is the Scottish Bentley, as he'll make his run to the final corner, and we will see if he's anywhere close. But you can see Murcielago in the background is likely going to improve on his time as well. It looks like he's been on a good lap. So Galactic Skull 2 comes up to the line. Will he go any faster? He finds 0.4 of a second, but it's not enough. Murcielago will come across the line. He didn't improve, but Galactic Skull 2 within half a second. Mark will line up in P3. Nemesis Racing, the reigning champion, will line up P4. Beamer Black, Chazza P6 and P5 respectively. Kedshi in the pits. JFD yet to set a lap time. He comes up to the line now and we will be able to see if he's going to be anywhere towards the pace of the front runners. He goes P7 with an unimpressive lap to say the least. And that is your qualifying grid then. It's very much a tale of Murcielago in Galactic Skull 2 going into the race ahead with about 5 seconds left on the qualifying clock. Very much a Murcielago and Galactic Skull 2 show. The only guys within a second of each other. And it is very spread out, the grid. Looks like the skill gap is very widespread. Murcielago doing an awesome job in the BMW. Very interesting. So Murcielago will take pole position then with a 2:07 dead, just over 5 tenths to Galactic Skull 2. Mark will line up in P3 in the Renault, and Nemesis Racing in the Audi will line up P4, reigning champion in the Project Car Series, of course. Beamer Black P5 will lead Chazza with an unimpressive performance from everyone from 5th and below, and they will struggle if that is their race pace. But JFD didn't get to set any valid lap times until his very last one, and Kedshi, we still don't know the pace because he never got a valid lap time. So it's going to be a rolling start here, and we're going to see just how crazy this goes. You can see the guys lined up, ready to go underneath the Madness Engine Bridge as we get ready to go racing here at Bathurst. We are in for a 30-minute race. Surprisingly, the clock on the top is already ticking. So the longer it takes for these guys to set up, the less racing time we have. But it looks like lights out and away we go. Is that the race on the way already? I don't think it will be. I think these guys will formation run into the start line. So side by side, Galactic Skull and Murcielago. You can hear the clocks ticking. And away we go. Who gets the better start of the two? It's Galactic Skull 2 gets the better initial launch. But Murcielago, of course, has the inside line. Is he going to be able to... Oh, big accident! Absolutely monumental accident. Mark sent flying into the air. He loses his rear wing. He collided with Beamer Black. And Murcielago goes to the back of the grid as well. Huge damage for Murcielago. He's even pulling over at the side of the grid. Good Murcielago, the man who took pole position, beat out already. He's not impressed. That was a huge accident. The only man to get away with that without a penalty. Mark still causing damage down the back straight. These cars are running damage, of course. 100% damage is on. Any car caught in that opening accident will be ruined, and they will have to trek their way back to the pits. But so far, Galactic Skull 2 finds himself in the wall a little bit as well. Leads the way from Nemesis Racing. Kedshi up from the back of the grid up into P3. Chazza will follow him through. It looks like this is going to be our first battle of the evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to be a case of Chazza versus Kedshi. And it looks like Kedshi's already pulling away, and you can see it's just a lack of confidence in the Audi that is costing him all this time. Is Murcielago out? Murcielago is out of the race. He will be absolutely furious. The man who took pole position by over half a second is out of the race, and it's Bentley leading from Audi from Porsche. A moment to appreciate the graphics. This really does almost look like real life as we come through what used to be called the Falcon Corner. Now, I'm assuming it's called the Monster Energy Corner due to the sponsorship. But now you can see Kedshi gets a run on the compatriot car of the Audi, forces the Audi on the grass just a little bit. But now he's got the move done. Plain and simple. Nemesis Racing still has a penalty to serve. That's what the little warning symbol next to his name means. JFD up into P4. Beamer Black somehow still going in P5. Mark's definitely going to have to pit. And Chaz has had an incident at the bottom of the hill and finds himself at the bottom of the pack. So back to the front, Galactic Skull 2 leads the way by a substantial margin. The next car behind him will be Kedshi. We don't really know Kedshi's pace based on his one... it was really... Oh no, there goes Kedshi! Kedshi, half spin, what a save from the man in the Porsche. He saved it and could get right back into the battle. That is a magnificent save from the lime green Porsche. But Nemesis Racing back up into P2. As the racing continues once more. Kedshi out on the outside grass. You don't want to be out there, buddy. And is this Chazza and Mark all following into the pits? And it looks like these are two guys that the only two guys that are going to pit. As I think Chazza's hit the wall going into the pits. Chazza's had a nightmare. Chazza is stuck. There he goes. He's got going now. Nemesis Racing is showing red. I'm not sure what that is. As the pit crews get underway in the pit lane, Chazza and Mark find themselves after a huge accident at the start. So Galactic Skull 2 leads the way, and the battle for second is on between Porsche and Audi. The two Germans going at it for the fight here at Bathurst. Galactic Skull 2 leading a Nemesis Online Racing League race for the first time in his career. Doesn't have the experience of leading in this league, but he could be on for his maiden win today. His main rival is out of the competition after a huge accident at turn 1. Nemesis getting the better run through the downhill section after Kedji. Kedji eager to stay with the Audi though. Follow him down the hill as we ride on board. Nemesis Racing gets a little bit of a tank slapper going through the Falcon corner. Meanwhile, Kedji hits the wall, so that's an even worse run for him. And now Kedji looks like he has some kind of slow down penalty to serve. When he serves, that will be his choice though. Galactic Skull 2 leads the way by 7 seconds. 2 seconds separate JFD and Beamer Black, rising to 3 seconds. But this is still a close gap. Look at the speed difference on the Porsche. The Porsche has closed in with the aid of Slipstream and just what seems to be more horsepower and less downforce, and has caught the Audi in next to no time. This is a good run from the lime green Porsche. Final corner. Nemesis Racing nails it though, and he won't be making any gains through there. But we've already seen the speed difference, and there's a long straight coming up. Through turn 1, on the exit we go. Now just watch the closing speed. The Porsche needs to get in the Audi slipstream though. He needs to get right up behind him if he wants a chance going into the mountain section. He's gaining, he's gaining, he's gaining, he's gaining. He's going to be right there when we get to the braking zone. Nemesis cuts off the inside line though, holds defensive, and scares Kedji into an early braking maneuver which costs him some time. They're gaining a little time back on Galactic Skull 2 through this sector, but with 7.2 seconds rising up the mountain, looks like these two will be fighting for no more than second this evening. Up and over the mountain we go. Nemesis starts to pull a bit of a gap. Nemesis losing the rear just a little bit. Kedji has gained massively through the mountain sector. Absolutely massive gains from the Porsche driver right now. The man who qualified last on the grid has got some impressive pace in the Porsche, and he's making the Audi all kinds of nervous and making Nemesis defend thin air. Nemesis is worried, and the pressure is beginning to show on the most experienced NORL driver in history. Nemesis is struggling just a little bit. First race of the season, nerves can get under your skin, and Nemesis knows there's good points on offer with Murcielago, Mark and Chaz are all been caught in that huge accident. Here comes the Porsche once again. Lets off though, just opted to stay behind him. Wise thinking from Kedji, not being as aggressive as he could be. He's just holding off because Nemesis is forcing himself into little mistakes just like that, and that's going to give a Porsche a good run, potentially into the final corner. Will Nemesis go defensive? Yes, he will. The Porsche can switch to the outside and get the optimal alignment. No, he doesn't force the issue enough, and Nemesis can move back onto the racing line, continuing where he left off. Remember, Kedji still has a penalty to serve at some point during this race. 0.4 of a second through turn 1 is the gap between Porsche and Audi. And the Porsche is definitely going to have one hell of a run. This time is right with him. Look how close the gap is this time. Moving to the outside, and he could pass him before we even get to the mountain sector. If he can out-drag him, he will pass before we get to the mountain sector. Is he going to be able to do it? He's got the move done, but will the Audi come back at him? Oh, the Audi thought about it, but the battle is done. Porsche into P2. As now we will switch our attention to Nemesis Racing, who will try to return the favour on the Porsche and catch and repass him. A lot of work to do that though, because the Porsche is already running away with it. Porsche is just so much more confident. We saw this on board with Chazza. The Audi is very nervous. The Audi can likely be good through the course of a season, but at the mountain, It is a very nervous car through the mountain section, and that is where he's losing so much time. Surprising, because we think the Audi has more downforce, and has Colin had a mistake? Colin has. Colin into the wall on the mountain, gets going again, and his lead is gone. The Porsche is right with him, and now we have a battle on for first because of a mistake from McAllister. Kedshi goes deep though into the Fulker corner. That's going to give the Audi a chance. Crazy racing going on in your top three then. It's Bentley leading from Porsche, from Audi, but there's nothing separating them. And ironically, the thing that is the most deciding factor is mistakes right now. Who is going to make the least mistakes? Because right now, everyone's making them. And the Porsche closing in on the Bentley through the straight line. And he's going to try, as we love to say on this channel, apply the metaphorical blowtorch of pressure to the rear of the Bentley. What a run he's got through here. Surely an attempt into the final corner will come from the Porsche. The Bentley covers it all the way, and the Porsche is able to get on the outside, and he'll get the better run into turn one as a result of that. We'll ride on board, but no, nothing special from him just yet. The Bentley got a good exit. We'll lead into turn one. Colin defending thin air though. Oh, and the Porsche goes wide again. You saw him, he locked up. He couldn't keep the front end in check. That will give McAllister the breathing room he needs. Kedji followed by Nemesis Racing as we go up to the mountain once again. It's a freeway battle for your lead. Porsche, everyone just holding station right now. And it looks like Chazza has retired from the race. Chazza has retired from the race, making our second retirement of the day. 0.2 of a second. 0.8 of a second covering. Oh, McAllister, oh, big accident! And the Bentley and the Porsche have come together, and Nemesis finds himself in the lead. The Bentley has no rear wing and has gone from zero. Oh, he's gone from hero to zero. He can't get the car going again. It's so damaged. JFD just scoots his way past, and Beamer Black will find himself here to initiate a battle of the Bentleys. How much damage is going to be on that Bentley though? I suspect McAllister might need to make a pit stop. That's a lot of damage. Yeah, you can just see he doesn't have the downforce, and he's into the wall again. It's all gone horrifically wrong for the Bentley driver from Scotland. He's going to need to pit. That will put him in the clutches of Mark, and it looks like the Bentley's day is done, and he'll be fighting for no more than 5th this evening. An absolute horror story. Did the Porsche though? Did the Porsche pick up damage? Because if he did, then that is pretty much a win in the bag for Nemesis, unless he makes a mistake, of course. So this is very interesting, but the Bentley having an awful time. It's so damaged. A retirement, honestly, could be on the cards here for the Bentley driver. That is a nightmare. As the Renault mix ground up on the Bentley. The man was leading the race less than a lap ago, and he's now just trying to nurse a severely damaged Bentley to the pits. The bumper's hanging off, the rear wing's gone, and look how much it's pulling to the right-hand side, and McAllister has to keep correcting it just to keep it up the wall, and Ked's in the pits. So game on for Nemesis. That could be race over. This brings Mark right into play. But Nemesis Racing could win the race. So no fuel and no tyres by the looks of things. Ked's still in the pits. It's McAllister still making his way back home. Be interesting to see where they come out. Bentley just makes it into the pits now. Kedshi still getting that damage repaired. And finally they release the Porsche. He's going to come out ahead of the Renault, I think, quite easily. But he's pretty much out of this race. In comes the Bentley for a stop. Horror show stuff here for Bentley today. It is all gone astronomically wrong. It's going to be an awful long pit stop. And now the field is super spread out. It looks like this man is on for one of his easier victories today. And that's all it takes, ladies and gentlemen, is the experience and consistency. With 17 minutes remaining, he's made small mistakes, but he's never put it in the wall. Never put it in the wall, never put it into another car, and now leads the race. The champion who didn't have the pace in qualifying had the consistency in the race. Just under halfway. And where'd he go? Lord Jod in the chat says, come on boys, who are you supporting, Lord Jod? Do let us know. Chazza says, Audi car very unstable, was too dangerous at the downhill part of the mountain. Yeah, we've noticed that. We've noticed that the Audi just doesn't have the downforce through the mountain section. And we saw that when we compared Kedshi to Nemesis. The Porsche was just able to grip up and drive away. But unfortunately, there's been accidents all over the field. Now the closest gap we have is Kedshi and Mark, which is a gap of around 3 to 5 seconds. It's expanding and decreasing every time we look at it. But it does look like Kedshi's getting in a bit of a rhythm and is going again. Colin McAllister back on the circuit in the form of Galactic Skull 2. And we'll opt to at least try and get a fastest lap for potentially an extra point. JFD pits though, very interesting. Do these guys need to pit for tyres? Is there a mandatory stop involved? Lord Jord is rooting for Nemesis Racing. Well, it's a good day to be a Nemesis Racing fan. I can tell you that, and it looks like a mandatory stop is involved then. So, JFD and Beamer Black pull themselves into pit lane for a new set of tyres, maybe even a splash and dash of fuel. Very interesting. Could this pull anyone back into play? It might pull Kedshi within range of these guys. Not JFD, but I think Kedshi will get Beamer Black. Beamer's still in his pit box. JFD now leaves his pit box and gets on his way. Kedji's nowhere near. Beamer Black still in the pits. Has he got damage that he needed to repair from the Turn 1 accident, I wonder? Because he's still in the pits and is losing an awful lot of time. Mark goes by. Where is McAllister? Making his way down the Conrad Straight. Surely they can't keep in the Bentley for this long. How far away is McAllister from Beamer? Beamer's still in the pits. Has he got damage? He must have damage. But away he goes. McAllister looks like he's struggling with the Bentley a bit, but it looks like Beamer is going to get away. But that's just fine. Now, the interesting thing, will the man from Italy pit on this lap? Crazy scenes. And it all started with that huge accident that wiped out effectively half of the field in Turn 1. Cars went over the top of each other. And this man has kept it consistent, kept it out the wall, kept it out of other cars, and just driven himself to a victory-taking position. And it's so easy to get it wrong on a track like this. Nemesis opts to stay out of pit lane and go for another lap. Nemesis still getting good feelings from the tyres. Still has good fuel levels. He's able to continue moving along until he feels like he needs to pit. But right now, the Audi holding stern on its tyres. The number 1 car in the number 1 spot, as we have the gap between Mark and Kedshi slowly beginning to decrease once again. Can Kedshi catch JFD? Can Mark catch Kedshi? Not a lot happening in this race, but this is the closest battle on circuit so far. And it looks like Mark is making good progress as we head under the Madness Engine Bridge. Up into the final corner, you can just see Kedshi on the start-finish straight. Into the final corner we go. Mark assessing the back of the Porsche, looking for a weak spot, looking for any weakness in the Porsche driver that he can capitalize on, as we have McAllister, Galactic Skull 2, has retired from the race after a game crash just to add on top of his issues. And that leaves us with 5 men battling it out. And it looks like all this said and done with Nemesis Racing. I mean, it's an attempted undercut from a long way back from JFD. If Nemesis makes any kind of mistake, then it could be on for him. So we head up the mountain. Mark is gaining on the Porsche, but this is where the Porsche excels. Through the mountain. Of course, we don't know how much damage they repaired on the Porsche. It could still have a little bit of damage as we head through the hill. Up the hill we go. The Renault looking a bit tentative through the mountain section. And the Porsche, we knew this is the Porsche's best spot, but the Porsche's in the wall. The Porsche's made contact with the wall. That could be further damage for Kedshi, and that could knock him off the podium. The Renault will be all over him down the back after that mistake from Kedshi. Big mistake here. Down the hill we go. This is nightmare material for Porsche fans around the world, because Mark in the Renault is now all over and hounding, and we will be able to assess just how bad the damage is on the Porsche. We can see, does it pull? Can we see Kedshi pulling the car to keep it in a straight line? We can. It's moving to the right hand side from no fault of Kedshi. So that error by Kedshi has made the car lose some tracking, and now it's pulling to the right, and now he's got to fight off a Renault. Boys, do not go side by side through there. That would have been an airplane accident. Into the chicane we go. He's just a matter of time. The Porsche is weakened, it's injured, but no, the Renault makes a mistake. And now the Renault has to do all the work of catching him again. Surprisingly, Kedshi's actually catching JFD hand over fist. Nemesis still not in pit lane. If there's a mandatory stop or not, I can't quite tell at the moment. But everyone else but Nemesis has pitted. Less than a second gap once again then between Mark and Kedshi. Porsche's damaged, but still catching JFD. We'll make the run up the mountain again, and this will be, if there is damage on Kedshi's car, this will be where it hurts him the most. Right inside the Renault RS01 GT3. Up the mountain we come, right on the back of the Porsche. Now, it is going to be very difficult for Kedshi to keep it out of the walls when he's already got this much damage. And the Renault is right with him. And he's got to be oh so careful where he chooses to overtake the Porsche 911, because the 911's in the wall again. The damage is huge on the Porsche, and the Renault is going to get past him easily at this phase. But right now there's nowhere to pass on the windy mountain section. He's got to pick and place his moves oh so well, but there's nowhere to do it. His next opportunity will be the Conrad Straight, and he's just got to stay as close to the back of that Porsche as he possibly can to get the best possible chance of getting the move done before the kink. And there you go, Porsche makes another mistake, and the Renault is right with him. Surely it is the time of the blue and orange machine from France to get the move done on the German. Oh no! Huge accident! How has that happened? How has that happened? Kedshi was on fire for a moment there. That Porsche's day is done. Mark into the wall, he passed him, and it looked like he just tried to close off the line before he was clear. And they're both in the wall. And that is two further cars eliminated. Beamer Black will be happy to hear that. I expect to see these two cars pit at the end of this lap. Neither of them pit. Kedshi opts for a very late pit stop. He will be furious with how this race has gone. Look at that car. It almost looks like a Volkswagen Beetle. After the amount of damage that car has been squashed into. The only reason to keep going for Kedshi at this point is purely because he can get points for 5th place today. He's going to be in the pits for an awful long time. Beamer Black will take P4 away from him. Mark is going to be driving with a severely damaged car for the next 8 minutes unless he opts to pit. JFD is making no inroads, and Nemesis Racing is lighting up the circuit. Very interesting how this has gone wrong for various guys today. It's been a nightmare for some of these drivers. This is a brutal track to start the GT3 series at. Much like in real life, Bathurst 12 hour tends to mark the start of the GT3 endurance season. And it is absolutely brutal every time we come here. No matter if you're in real life or simulation, this stuff is brutal. The only benefit here is we don't get kangaroos to deal with. Nemesis Racing goes unchallenged, unpitted, and he continues to go. If there is a mandatory pit stop, this is a very interesting strategy from Valley. He's got the pace to pull it off though, but JFD has made another mistake. It's a nightmare of things going on today. As we take a look at the timings, we can just see Beamer Black is actually setting the track on fire right now, as is Mark. They both put in very good best laps. Mark obviously isn't, he's got damage, but Beamer Black is the fastest guy on track right now. Overall, Mark has been the fastest guy, some 2 seconds faster. Beamer Black has the pace to catch second place if he can just keep it clean. What a story this could have been. We expected a Murcielago washout. We then expected a Galactic Skull washout. And now we have a Nemesis Racing washout. Beamer Black is the man to watch though. It's going to be tough, but he could catch Mark, especially if Mark's driving a damaged car and Beamer is setting consistent fastest laps. He could catch them. It's very possible. 7 seconds separates JFD and Mark. That's a lot. But 1 minute and 6 to that is about 16 seconds. Can he gain 16 seconds in just over 6 minutes? Mark needs to have an abysmal few laps for that to happen, I think. We crossed the line. The gap doesn't seem to be changing that much. Somehow, Mark is getting on JFD. JFD doesn't... Aye. Especially not when you're doing things like that, JFD. That's why you're losing time, buddy. As we cut on board with the McLaren, it goes into the wall once again. And that is what is going on in the McLaren. That's why a damaged Renault is gaining time as Kedshi is in the pits again. This is an absolute nightmare for the Porsche. Honestly, retirement could and probably should be on the cards here. Why has Kedshi had to pit again? Has he had another off? Or did they just not repair his damage? And now Nemesis Racing laps the Porsche driver. It looks like the Porsche just came in for a new set of tyres, actually. But does Nemesis Racing need to make a stop? Now is a good time. JFD is crashing. Mark has got a damaged car, and Beamer Black, after being the fastest guy on track just a moment ago, is no longer making any impression. It's actually some 6 seconds faster than the guys in front, but the timing's not showing that. See, the gap to Mark is 15 seconds. We will check at the start of next lap and see how much he took out of it. But JFD is only 5.5 seconds up the road from the Renault, and the Renault is gaining. The Renault is gaining a lot. Now loses a bit of time through the chicane. JFD has a Renault chasing him down for 5 minutes. Can he hold off on the pressure? 5 minutes of intense pressure are going to come from Mark in the Renault. Can he hold them off? The gap staying about the same. Instead, the gap was about 16 seconds, so it looks like Beamer Black's found 2 seconds on this lap, but he's going to need more than that if he wants to catch before the end of the race. Nemesis has got to think about a pit stop if there is a mandatory pit stop. He might not have to pit, but it looks like the front of Beamer Black's Bentley is a bit buckled. I think Beamer's had a trip into the barriers somewhere on this lap, and that's why he's not gained as much as he has been doing. Kedshi out on the charge in his almost unrecognisable Porsche 911 at this point. We'll take a ride on board with the champion and see how it is done here at Bathurst, how to keep it not out of the walls. He's just been so consistent. He hasn't had the pace to win today. That is the magnificent thing. Nemesis never had the pace to win this race. That is the bizarre thing. And it just shows you that Bathurst plays no favourites. If you're not consistent, then you're not going to win. And you have to feel for the likes of Murcielago, who were never in this race through no fault of their own. Huge accident in turn 1 took him out almost immediately, and it was no fault of his own. It was quite heartbreaking, really. 3.5 minutes to go. That's about 2 laps. I don't think there is a mandatory pit stop because Nemesis is not taking one. Valerio Campagnari set to take the win today. 10 seconds is the gap now between Mark and JFD. It's actually 8 seconds. So the gaps are a bit wild at the moment. 11 seconds. 3 seconds found on this lap by Beamer. He's gaining, but I don't think it's going to be enough. He needs the cars in front to make one mistake and he'll be right with them. One mistake and Beamer Black will be right with these guys. Of course, if Beamer makes a mistake, he'll be out. Luckily, the Renault has been allowed to continue with no lights. Sometimes we see you get told to fix if your lights are not working. Doesn't look like that is the case this time. 2.5 minutes to go at Bathurst for round 1 in the NORL Project Cars 2 FIA GT3 series. And it hasn't been the race we expected. It's been better in some ways, it's been worse in some ways, but it's been... There's no easy way of saying it, but it's been a crash fest today. As we're down to just five drivers losing over half of the field. Beamer Black within 10 seconds. But struggling to keep up with Mark through the first sector. Nemesis will likely come around and start his final lap of the race to take an easy win. Kept it out of the walls, kept it consistent, and that might just be the reason why he won the championship last season in IndyCar. You dread to imagine what the gap would have been like if the likes of Krill Pills and people like that were still racing. But now, no credit taken away from Nemesis. He's been consistent when he needed to be today. He's done it perfect, and that's why he's leading the race. Unfortunately, oh, Nemesis does pit then, so he did have to pit, and he's just left it till the very last lap. Interesting strategy from the Audi team. But I mean, I don't think the JFD will catch him. No, not even close. The Audi leaves the pit lane. And almost a Michael Schumacher-esque style of pit stop on the very last lap. Except his was not to serve a penalty. It was just a scheduled stop for the Audi driver. He's got as much out of them tyres as he needed to. Kind of a waste if you ask me. I think he should have pitted a bit earlier and he could have got some more out of the new tyres. But away he goes to lead the final lap of Bathurst. JFD nowhere near, Mark nowhere near to JFD, and Beamer Black is just not gaining. So this is very much going to be your finishing order. That's quite a sad sight to see. Nemesis Racing leading from Ketchy, but by over a lap. Rather than the battle for position we saw earlier in the race. It just shows how quickly it can all go wrong. Val really pushing his cars to the limit. Pushing hard through the mountain on this final lap. Now Val needs to be careful. He's pushing hard, but he doesn't need to. He just needs to nurse this one home now. He's got the win. No one's close enough to pressurize him. Ketchy behind can pretend he's in the fight for the win, but he's not. But very much a dominant win, all given to Valeria by consistency. Just shows you that consistency in this sport means just as much as speed and talent and strategy. He's consistently kept it out of the walls, consistently kept it out of his other competitors. And he comes down the mountain for the final time. Ketchy actually putting some pressure on him, trying to have a little bit of fun, salvage from this race. He's over 2 laps down, I think, pretty much at this point. Is he actually going to have a go on the Audi? This would be funny. Nemesis should honestly just let him through. And I think he is going to do that. Ketchy unlaps himself. Nemesis just lets him go because he's got a race to win. Oh, that's something from Ketchy. Show him what he could have done today. Just didn't end that way for him. And around the final chicane we go. Up into the last corner. Ketchy looks like he's going to let Nemesis by. And Nemesis will come across the line to win round 1 in Bathurst. For the NORL FIA GT3 series, it's another win for the Italian. In a dominant fashion, the champion starts off his title defense in the best possible way. Next up will be JFD to make his way up to the line. These guys have got 50 seconds to complete. Some guys aren't going to finish. 5 seconds Beamer Black got the gap down to. Fortunately, not enough. JFD comes around the next corner to take a second place, which is a very good result for him considering his pace today. Another man who rewarded by his consistency. Mark come up to the final corner. So you could just see Beamer flashing Mark saying, I almost had you. Another 2 laps maybe, Beamer, and you would have been there. Mark takes the final spot on the podium after that huge accident at the start. Beamer will round off in P5. And that is pretty much the end of the session here then. Here are your final race results. Nemesis Racing wins from JFD, ahead of Mark and Beamer. Kedgy P5, Chazza, of course, retired, but Chazza will be a lot lower down. Chazza will not be P6. He will be behind McAllister. So McAllister will be P6, then Chazza, then Murcielago. Crazy racing to start off the season. Nemesis took a 30-second penalty. So only just one. So why did Nemesis Racing get a 30-second penalty? He wins anyway. But I wonder what happened there. Big penalty from the Nemesis Online Racing driver. Wins by 3 seconds. So he had the gap to win. But how long did he have that penalty for? Very interesting. Either way, Nemesis Racing has taken round 1. That'll put me at the top of the standings. JFD will land up, of course, second. But I expect to see the likes of Galactic Skull 2 and Murcielago come back a lot stronger for round 2. Thank you ever so much for watching. And until round 2, or even if you're going to join us on Sunday for round 2 of F1, we'll see you then. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.